Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Buy More Weekly. So we're here at this property. It is a newly finished 6-bed HMO with a higher spec. But the reason we're here, we're actually gonna run this as contractor accommodation. Hey, look at that. We got windows. Very happy about that. Managed to get them for a dirty cheap price. Remember, initial quote was 83 grand. We got them in for just over 30 grand. So it's the importance of bartering out your supply chain, you know. And we've got Gary in the office now dealing with all the procurement across the board. He's hitting rates on all material suppliers and he is getting us savings and savings and savings and savings everywhere and creating a more rigid procurement process. So very, very happy. Life is good, Buzzers is good. So there's the access we're doing for the basement. So we've chopped out the slab and then we'll end up bulkheading just over that door frame, allowing for the fall into the basement. What that means though, is it's saved us about 15, 17 grand from digging down the existing stair core to access to the basement. Instead, we found a more ingenuitive way of doing it here, and we don't need the council's permission because we managed to do it in a way where it recesses into our title. So we don't need their permission at all, which is great. We do need a material amendment though, but we were worried we'd need permission to do works on council land, but we haven't needed to, so that's good. It does impact the kitchen units a little bit, but nothing mega. And that cost us a few grand, whereas that was going to be expensive. So yeah, all windows in on the backside as well. Sockets all pulled through to positions. Ceilings finished off. Thermal boarding all on. Extractors pulled in. Floor's not quite sorted yet. Not ready for vinyl, but I think we're just going to screed all these. Okay. The taping and jointing has come to here now. Nearly through there. So that's good, because the second all this is done, start whitewashing. Doors all going on, trim's starting to go on, all the dados for the feature panels. Hello, good sir. All good, mate, all good. Jeff, mate, he's a plumber now. Man of many skills. Joiner today.
20 minutes later.
So yes, got into a lot of discussion with Jeffrey there, just catching up on his insights on lads and things that are happening in and around on the sites. It's good for me to stay in tune with what's going on, who's underperforming, who's not, where are different sites at, where are we incurring problems and where we need to be fixing and addressing. And plumbing is it's always a big one, plumbing, just having reliable plumbers, but particularly on HMOs. So things to address there. But as you can see, skirts, joinery, arcs, door linings, done, ready to start hanging doors as and when we get to that phase. And then we've got ensuite with shower trays, legs on, upstands in for soil stacks, domestic waste in there. Taping and jointed throughout. We've got whitewash done on the perimeter walls, which is good. Obviously windows in. So I am confident, not optimistic, I'm confident. There's a difference. Optimistic is wishful. I'm confident is I'm sure that Q1 handover is what's going to happen with this building. Even though we've got delays on certain things, the weather's not helping us with the outside, just having drawings that we had to mess around with in the enabling works kicked our program out. But as is the way with these conversions, you just always find stuff, solve problems and move on. Whitewash more in here as well. This is getting ready for the trims and other bits that will come in here as next. So yeah, the lads should be sorted with the plumbing. We've got all our toilets and sinks and, you know, pedestals, all that kind of stuff's here. So when we next come back, we should see some bathrooms fitted with this whitewashed. That's what I want to see. That'd be nice. But anyway, cool. That's the updated Buzzers. It's in that phase of the process where it's just everything is at the same sort of rates. There's not a great deal to show each time other than the phase that it's at. It's pointless me showing you every room and stuff like that. But anyway, subscribe. Do me a favor. Just subscribe to the channel. Stop what you're doing. Just subscribe. Thank you very much. Big love. See you somewhere next.
Here we are. Got some buy-step viewings today. Not the worst property you've seen in terms of condition. Obviously, needs a lot doing, but toilet, cool. A sink with no sink there. Got some taps though if you want. Yeah, quite a bit to do. That wall, that is strange. Kitchen. Carcasses might be all right. Might be able to keep them. New hob want to replace ideally. But I think we can maintain most of this kitchen actually. A bit dirty, but other than that, it's actually in good nick. We do want a new sink in. It's an old, bit of an older sink. Weird, it's like half and half this one, but I think that'll be all right. You can make it work. Door, all good. Rad, you are double pane, that's good. Sometimes when they're single paned on a big room, it doesn't have the output to match the room. So for example, in this room, that is probably okay in terms of that, although The pipes leading to them are only 10 mil. That's all right. 8 is too thin, so it gets blocked up essentially. I'm sure I'll explain this before on the vlogs, but 10 mil, double paned rad, okay, that's good. If that was single pane though, it just wouldn't have the output for the room. There is an awful calculation that you can do. I will not do it, I refuse to. So, but that will be too small. This one's okay. Boiler, still got its wrapping on, although it looks quite old, so pricing a new boiler, I think. Maybe we can keep it in the end, but we'll see if it has its EICR or CP12. One of those two is the boiler one. If it has that, we can get those off the agents. If it has that, then good. Although it doesn't mean on the back end that it's fine. It just means that at the moment it's all good. Loft access up there, rad, A-OK. All the skirting boards missing. Again, partly for refurb, they've already whitewashed the room. New sockets in, chased in 1, 2, 3. Lovely, that's good. Means we don't have to do it. Bit of plastering to do in the doors, but other than that, it's kind of half done. Does mean there's less up value. The purchase, as in between the purchase price and the end GDV, which we want as high as possible and get the cheapest price and then be worth the most. So you want a big refurb, essentially, without being insane. Like, you don't want to be adding extensions or loft conversions or buy-to-lets. It just doesn't add the value, especially in the Northeast. Capital values just aren't as high up here, so it's not worth it. But yeah, we'll see. I'll get a walkthrough video for the investor and then go on to the next one. Get it done.
Hi, Louise. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Just a Christmas tree.
Okay. Where are we putting it?
Just waiting.
Yeah. Okay. We need some fake presents as well.
How much money can I spend?
I'll donate, mate. I'll get some fake stuff.
So this is a 6-bed HMO property we've done for a client, banging size. Like, this could have been an 8-bed, but instead went for a favorable 6-bed layout. You see it's got this kind of offshoot study office style room. We got the built-in kitchenette units with the fridge freezer and stuff like that. Now the client wanted to spec this, and it's an interesting test case for us. And then we've still got the old spec cladded showers, just don't like the tiles and the grouting work that comes with the maintenance costs of those things. But the reason we're here is because we're actually going to run this as contractor accommodation as opposed to a HMO. The interesting thing about that is the demand in the Northeast for nightly stays, contractors, engineers, workers of all sorts who are helping to level up the Northeast with all of the infrastructure investment that's going on, from government money, from big foreign institutional money. 30 billion going to the AI gigacenters around here. That's just tens of thousands of workers that need accommodation, and there's barely anywhere to accommodate them, which is where HMOs can be pivoted as a use case to run a service accommodation. So we're using that on quite a few test cases at the moment, somewhat partly through force, because the South Tyneside brought in emergency Article 4 measures. Long story short, they effectively meant that they conditioned it on occupation as opposed to traditional like pre-commencement, where if we've shown material starts on grounds, then we've already adopted PD or permitted development rights, meaning we can crack on without needing their permission regardless of Article 4 coming in. However, because they've made it an occupation, they've opened up their own legal liability through their own admission that now if they don't grant planning permission through the due process, then we can sue them for the material costs, which is millions and millions of pounds across the different schemes. So really stupid. So we've gone to all of our clients and gone, look, on these schemes, let's pivot them to contractor accommodation. We already operate our own contractor accommodation HMOs as a family and a couple client ones. And we've got the big apartment building as well that we run as 14 service apartments. Not quite contractor accommodation specific. These would be very specific contractor accommodation. And it's ideal because then an employer can put in anywhere from 5 to 8 workers in one property where they're all together. They can do their own cooking, they can look after themselves, they get hotelier style accommodation and sometimes their own bathroom. Now, as a spec, we'll make sure that they can have some shared. Probably do, the spec we're going to roll out is 4 bedrooms but 6 beds, because with contract accommodation you get paid per bed, not per room. So your infrastructure cost and layout on costs is lower. So your capex is significantly lower on developing an asset that will produce about the same amount of income. But the only downside compared to HMOs is there's not the same uplift in value that's recognized by valuers in the market, but your capex is a lot lower, so you don't need the same uplift in value. So the inherent yield, the ease, the speed, and the lack of legislation around contractor accommodation, because there's no planning permission, Article 4 doesn't take away that right, and we've checked that in the various areas we work in, it's under C5 PD still, regardless of Article 4, means contractor accommodation is going to be very lucrative because it's a huge market demand. That is countrywide, service accommodation is massively racked up because it's a better offering than hotels, especially for for workers, they want to accommodate themselves and, you know, have their van outside and all the lads are in one place. They can cook their own food, they can walk into town, as opposed to be stuck in a Holiday Inn where it's higher cost per head per night to take a room there than it is to share accommodation like this. So we're rolling that out as a spec, and we're here to shoot a case study on this and show the spec and the things that we're going to do, and then also shoot case studies on ones we've already run for the last 2 years, of which we have one property, Cobden, has been at 100% occupancy for 4 months. Montrose, which was going to be a HMO, but we pivoted that to contractor accommodation. That's the one we did with the BBC. That one's been at 100% occupancy and will remain at 100% for the next 3 months because it's fully booked out. Pensbury is at 84% occupancy. And then we have one in Stockton, which we were really worried about. We were like, will this work? We weren't sure if that area would work. Huge uptake. And that started at about 65% occupancy, which we were surprised about initially because we thought it'd be a bit of a slower progress. And now that's also at about 90% occupancy. So it's crazy because it's not seasonal contractor accommodation. Workers are all year round compared to, say, holiday lets that might work really well in the summer, maybe a bit in spring, but they can go quiet during the autumn and then maybe pick up again at Christmas. Contractor accommodation is much more stabilized. And because you put in the kind of HMO infrastructure without needing to do a lot of the compliance, because you don't need to have a room per tenant, you can have zip beds, and these zip beds can split apart and you could have a bed there and a bed there and still get the same nightly rate for those 2 heads. And in this room, for example, you could put another bed down there. So you could effectively have 3 people sharing this room to an ensuite. No problem, it's just like a hotel room. But they might only be here for a few weeks or a week or a few months at a time. So it's a great opportunity in the market. It's something we've already test piloted and it's worked for us for the last few years. And we're now going to be productizing that and putting that out there as a service. It also works in a much wider area pool because you don't necessarily need to be town central. But there's certain towns that are on easy commuter belts to different working demographics, like the Tees Valley Industrial Park or Washington Industrial Park or Sunderland. There's key areas where you can be that are designed for commutability, not necessarily amenity, but amenity is also very good because it's good for the workers. So it's a much broader stroke in terms of availability of stock and a much lower capex for the revenue you can achieve. So your inherent ROI on capital outlay is higher. You do have to stabilize these assets though. It's not like you can't just, well, you can sometimes put it on the market and get big bookings straight away, but generally you have to kind of sweat it first and work out your nightly rate adjustments and bring down the minimum stays and things like that, and just work on that for the first few months, and you build it up and then you get forward bookings and it starts to fill up the diary. And then as you get into about month 3, 4, you've then got your kind of stabilized occupation period. Very exciting because I love adding new products that complement our existing vehicles, and ultimately for our build team, it's an easier thing to do. And it could literally be almost half the cost of doing a 6-bed HMO and getting a very similar revenue stream. And we've used a big company up here that manage about 10,000 units. I say manage, they don't manage the actual operation. They manage the bookings and everything else and the channel managers. So they have all the data for this type of accommodation. And that's not 10,000 contractor accommodation units. That's just 10,000 broad stroke SA units from the northeast up into Scotland, and they've come and done reports at every one of our properties. And some of these 6-bedders, so full 6-bedders, 6 en suites, will do about 70,000 a year in gross revenue. That's a hell of a lot more than it would as a HMO. Your OPEX is higher though, because you've got turnaround and cleaning and inventory and bed linen all needs to be changed and things like that. And the OTAs, so the online travel agents, Airbnb, Booking.com, they take a fee as well off the gross. But what we've done is built rapport with businesses direct, and we put QR codes up and everything else to bring businesses back direct to wipe out the booking fee so that we can bring up the profitability, bring down the OPEX. So we can actually sweat this type of asset class more than we can a HMO because it's more commercially minded on the user compared to a HMO where you're putting it out there into the market and it's a going market rate for that HMO room. So we're very excited about this. It helps where we can apply our business brain on the actual management side, which is great to entice more businesses, higher occupation rates and things like that. And we've already made a good head start over the last 3 years running our own units. And now we're going to be doing this for clients as well. And it's good in a market where we currently have this political storm around HMOs and people thinking they're all asylum seekers. Look at this. There ain't no asylum seekers coming here. This is professional let HMO accommodation. But unfortunately, it's just been tarnished with this political brush, which is just nonsense. Anyway, we do what we can. We be dynamic, and contractor accommodation falls completely outside that use class and that remit. So happy days. That's what we're doing. And we're going to shoot some content now. Big love. Subscribe. See you someone next.